Crimson Trace announces Link, the world's first wireless laser and white light system, combining a green laser and 300 lumen light with instinctive activation for AR-type rifles. Link, smart, simple, secure. Learn more at crimsontrace.com.
Today on Tom Gresham's Gun Talk, hear about a new group in the firearms industry developing programs aimed at suicide prevention and gun safety, the advantages of practicing with a training pistol, and more. Call in with your questions, comments, and range reports to 866-TALK-GUN. And now, here's Tom Gresham.
Well, all righty, let's talk about guns. Well, and lots of other things. We can talk about pretty much anything that has to do with guns and shooting and ammo and everything else. By the way, I'm Tom Gresham. The show is called Gun Talk, and that's what we do here. We talk about guns and shooting and pretty much anything else that we can wrap our heads around. We try to have some fun with the whole thing, and I hope that you do. If you'd like to be a part of it, just give me a holler, 866-TALK-GUN, or dial me at Tom Talk Gun. We are going to be talking, well, about a lot of different things today. There's some news that we have to get around and be talking about. We'll talk about a new group, and we're also going to be talking about some training that you can do, because I am absolutely convinced that the more training you do, the better prepared you are. I mean, that's kind of a given. Everybody understands that. The problem is a lot of us cannot get to the range as much as we would like to. It's time-consuming. It's expensive. It's sometimes hard to find a place to shoot, but there are ways that you can train without going to a range. We'll be talking about that a little bit later on in the show. It's one of those things, as I think about it, we all know we need to train more, which is not the same as shooting more, okay? There are things that we need to work on if we're going to be serious about protecting ourselves and protecting our loved ones with a firearm. What are things that you can do? I mean, obviously, if you can go to the range, great. If you can get with a trainer, even better. And, you ought to try to, I would say maybe once a year, try to get with a trainer. And then when you go out and practice, you can practice the things that you've worked on with the trainer. But there are things you can do even at home. One of those, let's just consider if you carry, say you carry a pistol in a holster. How are you going to get to it? I was just reading earlier today a discussion. Somebody would say, well, the problem with concealed carry is that you can't get to your gun, and it's going to take a long time to get your gun out and all that. I'm thinking, this is a person who has never been to a class and has never practiced drawing from concealment, probably has never carried a gun at all. One of those, if you have a gun, you wouldn't be able to get to it in time to do any good. That's why you need to depend upon the police. Yeah, they'll be here in 5 minutes. You know what? I got to tell you, I don't care how buried a gun is in your clothes. It's not going to take 5 minutes to get it out, okay? But let's talk about this for a second. Say that the concern is, how do I access my firearm? Well, let's go with either an unloaded gun or an airsoft gun, or we'll talk about later on in the show, a SIRT gun, some other kind of gun, and let's practice the draw. Let me give you a couple of thoughts here. There's a saying, and it makes all the sense in the world. Once you get into it, you go, oh, yeah, okay, I got that. Fast is not fast. Smooth is fast. What do we mean by that? A lot of people, when they want to draw, they leap and jerk, and they're kind of like they're falling apart sometimes. And you'll actually see people, they're kind of at the range, it's almost like they go into turtle mode. The head comes down, the shoulders come up, they scrunch up, they go into a gunfighter kind of a stance or a draw. All that takes time. All that is wasted motion. Watch somebody like Chris Serino, Max Michel, Doug Koenig, Rob Latham, Jerry Michlik. When they draw, nothing moves except their hand. their hand and their arm. I mean, there's no shoulder movement, there's no head movement, nothing moves, because all of that is wasted motion. And wasted motion takes time. So what you do is you, in the privacy of your own home, with an airsoft gun or a BB gun or a thoroughly, absolutely triple-checked, unloaded firearm, you work on smooth. You don't work on fast. Trust me on this. I mean, it's one of those, you really have to trust me. You work on smooth, not fast. So what are you going to do? You're going to work on your draw, work on clearing your garment slowly, smoothly. You're becoming an efficiency expert, if you will. How am I going to do this? I'm going to, if it's a shirt over my gun, I'm going to use 2 hands. I'm going to reach down with both hands and pull up the shirt as high as I can. Okay, if you're right-handed, imagine this. Just kind of follow along with me, okay? If you're right-handed, you're going to have to put a hand on either side of the gun, front and back of the gun. And you're going to grab that shirt, and you're going to pull it up as high as you can, all the way up to your armpit. I don't care. Yeah, you're going to show your belly. Get over it. And then you're going to continue to hold the shirt up with your left hand so it's completely out of the way while you reach down with your right hand and get a good purchase on the grip. Notice I say you don't grab the gun. You get a good purchase on the grip. You get your firing grip while it is in the holster. If that takes you an extra fraction of a second, that's okay. Because you want to have your firing grip on this gun before it comes out of your holster. Now, you're going to continue to hold that shirt up with your left hand so it's out of the way. Now, with the firing grip, you've got the gun and the pistol in your hand. You're going to come straight up with it as far up as you physically can till it's up under your armpit. And here's the trick here, okay? Pro tip, do not tilt the muzzle up with your wrist, but rotate your right elbow down, at which point when you do that, the gun's going to come up and be on target. At that point, you could shoot if you had to. Your left hand is right in the middle of your chest, still holding that shirt. Your right hand has the pistol in it, and it is right against your pectoral muscle on the right side. And if you had somebody on top of you, you could shoot right there. If you don't, and you want to extend that gun out, now slowly, you're going to practice this very slowly, you're going to release the shirt with your left hand. You're going to marry your 2 hands up right next to your chest so that now you have a 2-handed grip, and you're going to slowly extend this gun all the way out, and as it starts to come into your vision, you start to pick up the front sight on the gun, and as you extend all the way out, your focus is on the front sight, hard focus on the front sight. Then you're going to practice doing a trigger press, click, then the finger comes off the trigger, goes straight out, and you stop. You're going to look both sides, right, left and right, and then you're going to slowly do a reholster. This is how you can practice at home. If there's an old saying, I guess who the heck was that? Malcolm Gladwell. So you have to do something 10,000 times to be really proficient at it. Well, I don't know that we can get to 10,000. Some can, some can't. But if you do it 1,000 times, I guarantee you're going to be a whole lot better than you were before. So, you can do that during commercial breaks if you're watching TV, if you're watching ball games, whatever it happens to be. You get up and you do that 10 times. Not fast. Resist the urge. I know. But I want to draw fast. Yeah, I know. Of course you do. Fast will come. Trust me, fast will come. But if you try doing it fast at first, you're going to have bad habits. You're going to groove those bad habits. And what you want to do is do it slowly enough. It doesn't have to be like super slow, but slowly enough to where it all becomes very smooth. It's a smooth movement down. You get your gun, you smooth movement back up. You marry your hands. It comes out in front of you. Boom. All right. Then you stop, take a breath, come back, reholster, do it all over again. Do that 10 times. And then do it 10 more times. If you do it 100 times during a day, which is very easy to do 100 draws during a day, then it doesn't take that long before you're at 1,000. And then you're at 10,000. And you're moving pretty quickly. And it's all working for you. When you go to the range, you know what? You're going to be good. Because what you are doing, you're not only working on the draw, But you're doing something else. You're working on your eyes to focus because you want to move from the target that you're shooting at, your eyes, and then draw that focus back from the target to the front sight, get a hard focus on the front sight, and then you're working on the trigger press while the front sight is in sharp, hard focus. And then you're working on your finger comes off the trigger and your focus can go back out to the target if need be. All right? Pretty simple stuff. And you know what that cost you? Nothing. No ammo, no anything. It's a really great way to practice. Now, imagine you do that if you're a hunter. Do the same thing with your rifle. You've got it on your shoulder. You simply take it off your shoulder. You swing it around. You put it up to your shoulder then. You shoulder your gun. You look through the scope, and you press the trigger on a thoroughly unloaded rifle, holding those crosshairs on a target. You can practice that in your home over and over and over. And each time you do it, now you work the bolt. And one more. So it's click, work the bolt, click. So that what you do is you want to, and after the last click, you always work the bolt. Every time it goes click or every time it goes bang, you work the bolt. You don't just sit there with a fired round, an empty hull, cartridge case in your gun. What good is that? If you shoot a trophy animal and you sit there and admire it and then he jumps up and takes off and you haven't worked the bolt, holy cow. Yeah, how do we know that? Because it's happened to maybe a lot of us. What do you practice? I'm just curious. How do you practice? Do you do any practice at home? Do you do any dry firing? Do you do any work with your rifle or with your shotgun? Or is all of your work done at the range? I'm curious. Looking for your range reports now. What's your practice drill? What is your process? How do you work? Or do you even practice at all? 866-TALK-GUN or Tom Talk Gun.
When the U.S. military's elite units and law enforcement agencies across the globe demanded innovation and reliability, they didn't settle. They chose Sig Sauer. When world champion professional shooters demanded precision accuracy, they didn't settle. They chose Sig Sauer. So it's no surprise more and more civilian gun owners are refusing to settle for anything less. They're choosing Sig Sauer firearms, ammunition, electro-optics, suppressors, air guns, and training. Sig Sauer. Never settle.
This land, once wild and free, fades now from our memory. But I remember what it was like, what we were like, what we are capable of when we band together. Perhaps more than any other landscape, wetlands embody the life-giving abundance that nature has to offer. And perhaps more than any other organization, Ducks Unlimited is working to ensure that our continent's wetlands not only survive, but thrive for generations well beyond this one. These natural wonders are where waterfowl begin their cycle of life, where the deer and the antelope play, and where we, the people, gather together to see and share what makes the outdoors so great. The time is now to band together with organizations like Ducks Unlimited. The time is now to rescue our wetlands.
It's the next generation target pistol, the SW22 Victory from Smith & Wesson. Stainless steel frame, interchangeable match barrel, thumb safety, fiber optic sights, and a Picatinny rail. The SW22 Victory is ready for anything, targets or small game. Also available with a threaded barrel or cryptic camo finish. And it's backed by the Smith & Wesson Lifetime Service Policy. Learn more about the SW22 Victory at smith-wesson.com.
You know, we talk about self-defense gun uses, defensive gun use, DGUs, and there are a lot of them every day. They're all over the place. And the news covers some of them. A lot of them they don't. Well, honestly, the news only covers the ones where people actually fire a shot. Almost never will you read about the 98 to 99% of times when a defensive gun use does not require someone to fire a shot. But this one got my attention, I think it'll get yours. Headline is, police say armed repairman shoots and kills attacking monkey. Yeah, I know. Wait for it. Police in coastal North Carolina town say a repairman won't face charges after he fatally shot a pet monkey that escaped and attacked a woman. A Charlotte Police Department detective told the Charlotte Observer Friday evening that the snow monkey escaped a backyard cage and, this is way too easy, right? Quote, went bananas, biting the woman and scratching her arms and legs. Police say the monkey then ran across the street and banged on a neighbor's glass door. The repairman approached the animal, which ran toward him. Detective John Holman says the repairman killed it with one shot from his small handgun. Man had a concealed carry permit and was protecting the neighborhood, according to the detective. The monkey's owner was properly licensed. You know, how many times have you heard me say you just never know? Crazy is everywhere, evil is everywhere, but also just weird stuff is everywhere. And we have talked about this in the past, about sometimes it's not about bad people, it's about critters. And yeah, I know, maybe you don't live where there are lions and tigers and bears, oh my, okay? Maybe there are no wolves or mountain lions where you are, fine. But there are dogs. And every day, I'd be interested to know how many people get bitten a day. And every week, we hear about someone who is killed in a dog attack. If you have ever seen a dog attack another dog, seen a dog fight, a real dog fight, you just never know. I mean, you look at it and you go, I would never stick my hand in the middle of that. That's like two chainsaws going at each other. Crazy stuff. Well, speaking of, line 3, Gary's with us out of Bremerton, Washington. Hey, Gary, you got a dog attack story for us?
Well, yes, I do, Tom. I was just beside myself. I didn't know which story to tell you, that or range report. But I'll talk 50 miles an hour with 100-mile-an-hour gusts here. All right. My cousin's daughter who lives down in Camas, which is south in Washington, there was an article out of the Columbian, and it's in Skamania County. I talked to her last Sunday. She lives in a rural area. A neighbor who can be rural said at the local store, he had a bunch of puppies. She could have one. Hers died last fall. So she goes to him to the house. There's a dog out in front in the lawn where they kind of ushered the dog towards the house. His son opens the door, and a pack of 5 pit bulls come at her, and they're tearing her up on the ground, and she... between this guy and his son, they kind of helped her get it. She's just, get me in the car, get me out of it. So she gets in the car. She knew from rural areas that ambulances may have a problem finding rural addresses. So she drives herself to the little store. She's laying on the deck there. Ambulance comes. Short story, she ends up with a broken arm, permanent damage in the other wrist. She has a dislocated knee. They were wishboning her. Probably her hip also got traumatized. She's off for 3 months from work, and she's still on a walker. She can't even use crutches under her arms. She's tore up so bad. I'll send you the link, and you can read about it or tell people about it. It's out of the Columbian.
Wow. I mean, and that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. And I don't want you to go anywhere, Gary, because I'm going to get your range report. I want to point out to people something. The training that you have for self-defense against people is not really the kind of shooting you're going to be faced with in that kind of situation. You're really going to be looking at a contact shot. And I hope you understand what I'm talking about here. If a dog is on someone else, they're going to be thrashing around and they're going to be flying all over the place. And what you don't want to do is shoot the person who's being attacked by the dog or dogs. Yeah. You want to shoot the dog. So what you're going to want to do is shove the muzzle into the side or the gut or the leg or the head or whatever you can find of a dog and pull the trigger while you are pointing the gun and making sure that you don't get a pass-through. It goes through the dog, it hits the person. And then, and here we go, guys, this is where training comes in. When you make a contact shot with a semi-automatic, there's an excellent chance of two things. One is that you can take the gun out of battery, which means you're going to shove forward, the slide comes back a little bit, and it won't go bang. That's when you grab the, this is going to sound weird if you've never done it before. You can, with a semi-automatic, 945, it doesn't matter, put your thumb on the back of the slide, push forward, pull the trigger. It's not going to tear your thumb up. It's not even going to hurt. It's weird, but it doesn't. And then you're going to have to rack the slide because you have just induced a malfunction. So you're going to go contact shot, push forward, keep the slide forward, pull the trigger, bang, and then reach over and rack the slide, get ready and do it again if you have to. Heck of a story, Gary. Unbelievable. All right.
I never thought of doing that with a semi. I will. Is there no way you can even practice that, is there?
Yeah, there is, actually. If you can get to a range that has like 3D people dummies, you can shove a gun right into one, and you'll find that if you push the gun forward, it will come out of battery, the slide will go back slightly, and it will disengage. You will not be able to fire. So you can either if you're right-handed, wrap your left hand over the top of the slide, push forward with that, and shove it into this dummy and pull the trigger. Now, the slide's not going to come back, so you now have a malfunction. So you just rip the slide back, just do a malfunction drill. And this is, like I say, it sounds weird, but it works. The first time you do it, you're thinking, this is stupid. Put your thumb behind the slide, push against something, and pull the trigger, and the slide is not going to tear your thumb off. It really isn't. It's simple. I mean, it just simply works. Gary, I want you to hold on if you could. I want to get your range report when we come on the backside of this, and then we're going to have a guest coming in. But I definitely want to get that, and I don't quite have enough time here. So, Gary, you keep holding. We'll come back to you in just a second. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. People say, well, why would you carry? I don't know. I don't know what the threat's going to be. It's that old deal of if I knew I was going to face a threat and I knew what it was going to be, I wouldn't go there. I would decline the invitation, all right? So if you're invited to a gunfight, people say, well, what gun would you take if you had to go to a gunfight? I would not go, all right? I wouldn't go to a dog attack. I wouldn't go to whatever the attack is. And because I don't know, that's why I carry, because I don't know what's going to happen out there. It's as simple as that. And that's why, yes, I do carry. People say, you carrying a gun? I said, well, I'm not wearing pants. Be right back.
Good morning, Mr. Gresham. Your mission, should you decide to accept it, is to host a radio show that will bring truth and common sense to the discussion of firearms rights in this country. Good luck, Tom, to you and your Tom Gresham's Gun Talk team.
All right, back with you, 866-TALK-GUN or Tom Talk Gun, magic number here. We're talking with Gary out of Washington State. He's got a range report for us about helping a lady. What happened here, Gary?
Oh, yes. I knew I had to go to the range when I'd lost my stapler, couldn't find it for a few months, and then realized it was in my range bag, and it was time to go to the range. So I went to the range, and there was a lady that came in with two gentlemen, and there was another lady with another guy on the other side. And the lady with the two gentlemen, I would say she was Japanese. You could tell she had never been at a range. You see how nervous she is and stuff. Right. And the other lady kind of took her aside, showed her some hand grips. Oh, by the way, she had pink bullets. I've never seen that. But showed her some hand grips and all this kind of stuff, but didn't really have her shoot. The other two guys are blasting away, and they really messed up their target, and then they had her shoot a couple. Obviously, she couldn't see where she shot. Right. So I asked her if she would like to try my little 380 Ruger LPC-2. Anyway, I have a green laser on it. So I had her there, and we were at 7 yards, and I just put up some prairie dog targets. Mm-hmm. And, first of all, I kind of asked her if she had any double ears on. She didn't have the earplugs on, so I had her put a set of those underneath her muffs, like you suggest. And then I had her dry fire 3 or 4 times, and then she hit that those prairie dogs, every time, all 6 shots, first one right through the head, she was just beaming like, they do. So I just thought I'd let you know the range report there.
That is terrific. Well, good on you for taking the time and making the effort to go over and say, hey, can I help you with that? Maybe you'd like to try this. It's that old deal of shooting is fun when you hit stuff and it's not hurting you. So the double up the earplugs and muffs in indoor ranges is a great idea. Gary, thank you so much. That is the kind of gun talk outlook that we like to do. That's our outreach program there. Speaking of outreach, let me bring in our guest right now. Michael Sedini has been called the most gun guy around, a guy that's spent time, a number of years as a fashion model, also now working in the firearms industry. The president of Eagle Enterprises, Bursa, Metro Arms, Grand Power, firearm brands. All these brands. Michael, glad to have you here, man.
Thank you for having me on and giving me this opportunity. Appreciate it. Absolutely. And I mean, I don't know why people call you an un-gun guy. You're a gun guy, man. You got all these different brands of guns that you bring into the country and really good pistols and things. How did that title come about? I think it's because of the way I grew up. I grew up in New Jersey and San Francisco and kind of spent a lot of time hanging out in a lot of liberal places, kind of mingling in that community.
Right. Okay. Well,
you get into the gun industry and then all of a sudden people are trying to teach you about hunting. And so always kind of like the joke of everyone, like, oh, this is cute. But I am a gun guy. Yes, I am a gun guy.
Yes, of course you are. Now, one of the things we've talked about in the past, and I know that the Second Amendment Foundation has been getting that way out there in front of it, and other people coming along, is basically kind of, in the firearms world, we talk about not just accidents, but suicides are the number one type of firearm death there is. And we always say, well, that's a mental health issue. It's not a gun issue. But that's kind of talking past the problem, isn't it?
Absolutely, it is. I mean, that's first of all, if you take out suicides, obviously we go over 60% of gun deaths will be wiped out, which would be a huge number for us. But absolutely, people don't realize, and that's my organization, Walk the Talk America, it was created for that. It's like, let's stop saying, well, it's a mental health issue. No, let's work with mental health and try to mitigate the trauma that is associated with suicide and these mass shootings, right? I mean, that's really what's important.
Okay, so Walk the Talk America, what is it and what's it do?
Basically, it's an organization that I started about 3 months ago, that's really an interesting story in itself of where it's come in those 3 months. But we have reached out to the other side, the so-called other side, and basically said, look, we have industry leaders in our industry. We understand what you are doing because, and I should preference this is from Mental Health of America, which is the longest, oldest running mental health association, our mental health industry organization that has been around. So basically I reached out to them and said, look, you don't like the stigma that we place on you guys, right? Because we do that. As an industry, we do.
Sure.
People blame the gun. We naturally become defensive. We say, no, it's mental health. And they sit there and go, whoa, it's not mental health. Don't do that. You're creating a stigma. And what that stigma does is it makes it so people don't want to go get help because they don't want to lose their rights. So Mental Health America is saying, look, knock it off with the stigma because that's what's happening. That's what happens when people do it. They don't speak up because they don't want to lose their gun rights.
Okay, so what's the group going to do? What's it doing now?
The group is going to develop. We are currently, as a matter of fact, I have a conversation with the board directors of Mental Health America this week. We are going to start looking at programs and policies where we can go in and educate people about mental health and firearms, but also work on the things that need to be done at a level. Like, let me just give you an example, right? So if you take a kid, you look at these shootings, right? You look at mass shootings. Every time it happens, people go, well, everybody knew it was going to happen. The kid was having problems, right? He's crazy. Right. So what we want to do is basically work hand in hand with mental health because it's been defunded over the years. Actually, one crazy number is $4.6 billion was cut back for mental illness from 2009 to 2014. So we want to start paying for those things that get to the root of the problem, grassroots, right? Get into the weeds, start helping people understand there's places to go, there's resources, because many people don't think that. And there's also many people that don't think anyone on the mental health side is going to fight for their rights.
Okay, I want to jump in there because I think that's an important point, because I know that I'm on the board of the Second Amendment Foundation. We've been working with mental health professionals in Washington State, and they were reticent. They were kind of reluctant to work with the gun people, and a lot of the gun people were reluctant to work with the mental health people who are not gun people. But once we all sat down and said, okay, well, what's our goal here? Well, our goal is to reduce suicides and mass shootings by people who misuse guns, and we think we can do a lot of that through the mental health program. It's kind of like, oh, okay, we all want to do the kind of the same thing. We're just coming at it from different directions, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, bingo. That's exactly it. It's kind of mind-blowing. See, it's the way things are framed up in the language that's used, right? And when you walk into a place, you got to be able to communicate. And we've gotten away from that as a society, right? I mean, but that's what this organization is doing. So
exactly. Hey, Mike, hold on a second. I got to take a quick break. I'm going to hold you over, okay, because I want to continue this conversation. You good with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good deal. We're talking with Mike Sedini. The program is called Walk the Talk, and we'll talk about that when we come right back. Our number is 866-TALK-GUN. I'm Tom Gresham.
Before computers, before engines and automobiles and roads, before all of this, there was the land. A great ocean of land with mountains black as night, standing guard over all that is and was and forever will be. This is the Black Hills of South Dakota, the place that made the people who make the best ammo on Earth.
Visit black-hills.com for more information.
Want great deals on guns, ammunition, and gear? Download the free Gundealio app today. With Gundealio, you can search for deals, listen to the Gun Talk podcast, watch gun videos, read gun news, and get notifications right to your phone about deals and special offers. Save money on the products you want from the companies you love. New deals, discounts, and rebates added daily. Gundealio, available for free in the App Store and Google Play.
For 36 years, the U.S. Sportsmen's Alliance has been fighting to protect hunting, fishing, and trapping for sportsmen from coast to coast. Today, we are under constant attack from extremist animal rights groups who want to end your ability to hunt in the U.S. Join us to protect our sporting heritage and our way of life outdoors. To join or for more information on how you can help, go to ussportsman.org. That's ussportsman.org.
Founded with the singular purpose of building fine sporting firearms, Kimber creates a handgun for every person and a rifle for every adventure. While embracing modern manufacturing techniques, every Kimber depends on practiced hands for assembly, fit, and finish. There's no compromise in features, materials, or performance. Synonymous with quality, precision, and excellence, and made in America. Kimber is what all guns should be. Visit KimberAmerica.com. That's KimberAmerica.com.
All right, welcome back. We're talking with Michael Sedini from Walk the Talk America. Also, Facebook, you can check it out. Just look for Walk the Talk America. Mike, it seems to me that this is one of those deals that at first people on the gun side are going to say, well, what are you doing? And it doesn't take a whole lot of explanation to say, look, two things, and this is just my take. I want you to kind of react to it, if you will. My take is two things. One is anytime we can reduce negligent shootings, whether it's suicide or murder or attacks by people who could have gotten help, mental health help, that's a good thing just from the political gun side and everything else. But the other is just helping people in general is a good thing to do, and why wouldn't we do that as good citizens? That's kind of my take of the two things that I see popping up right off the bat as benefits.
Absolutely. There is so much more we can do if we just learn to communicate with what we call the other side, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the big thing. As gun people, we automatically jump back when we hear that because we go, well, no. They're trying to take this away, or they're trying to do this, or that's just going to get me wrapped up in legislation. Well, this is the great thing about Walk the Talk America. I'm there to make sure that doesn't happen. So if you get behind my organization, and I already have the okay from Mental Health of America to say we do not want to get involved in legislation. The legislation they want to get involved in is making insurance companies help pay for some of these programs, right? That's the good stuff. They don't want it to do anything to take your guns. They believe in due process. So we have to we have to stand next to each other and work on these policies and get to these kids. I mean, some of these kids as early as 6 years old, they need to know that there's a place they can go. And adults who are suffering through crisis, they need to know there's a place they can store their guns safely.
And that includes veterans, and we know that there are real issues there, and we need to give them all the help we can give them.
Oh, man, you wouldn't believe how many, like when I do these little engagements, like I did one in Denver a couple of weeks ago, these veterans get up and they tell their story because they finally feel there's a safe place to tell it.
Yeah.
It's been unbelievable. I mean, it's a whole show in itself, but that's exactly it.
All right, people want to help. Mike, how do they help? How do they get involved?
Basically, you can go to walkthetalkamerica.org. You can find us on Facebook at Walk the Talk US, Twitter at Walk the Talk US, and Instagram at Walk the Talk US. I need help. I've got some great industry people behind me, but everybody counts. I know not everybody has money, but some people have resources or connections. Whatever you can do to help in the movement, I promise you, we'll get something positive done.
Sounds good. Look, I appreciate it. I appreciate what you're doing. It is worthwhile, and it's the kind of thing that, we need to get behind because, one, it helps us on the gun issue side, but two, it's just the right thing to do to help people, and two, anytime we can reduce crime and reduce suicides, that's just a worthwhile thing. Michael, I applaud what you're doing, man.
Thank you, and I couldn't have said it better myself. I really appreciate you having me on, so.
Absolutely. Listen, you take care, my friend. All righty. All right, number's 866-TALK-GUN. Dustin has been on hold for a little while out of Huntsville, Alabama. He's on line 2. Hey, Dustin, I appreciate your patience, sir.
That's no problem, Mike. I just want to tell you about a story that I had with our daughter, who's now 4. She was 3 when it happened this past spring. Mm-hmm. You were talking about dog attacks, and you hit the nail on the head. My daughter was attacked by 2 pit bulls, a male and a female. The male was close to 80 pounds. Female was about 65. And my mother's been a veterinary technician for 30 years here in Huntsville. So I've been around dogs my whole life, large ones, small ones. Even the smallest ones can terrify you.
Yeah.
It's kind of an emotional subject, but we've made great progress since this has happened. She had walked around the side of a neighbor's house, and they just bulldozed the gate and just started eating her alive. Fortunately, we were across the street, and my wife's uncle had laid on top of her, but he was older, not in the best of health, so that's all he could do. And they shredded his thumb almost completely off, and then they proceeded to grab my daughter's left shoulder, took it down to the bone, grabbed her little head, and from the front of her hairline to the back of her scalp, she had about 8 or 10 lacerations that were almost a foot long apiece down to the skull. Multiple puncture marks.
How did it end? How did you get it stopped?
Well, it's what I told your call screener. My cardinal rule, I'm 30 years old. My cardinal rule for my father whenever he raised me around guns was when I got older, always carry, or there's no sense in having one. And I broke my own rule. I had broken my foot that year, this past year, right before it happened, and had been fishing a lot, and was in my truck. And you're exactly right as far as that's a very extreme thing to train for.
I got a hard break coming, Dustin. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold you over because I still haven't found out what happened here. I got to get you to the, how did it end? So we're going to hold on a second here. We're going to come back and get the story. That's exactly what I'm talking about. These kind of dog attacks. They come out of nowhere. They're fast. They're furious. They're vicious. What are you going to do? Well, we'll find out what Dustin did when we come back. 866-TALK-GUN is the magic number. right, back with the 866 Talk Gun. We're talking with Dustin. His little girl was attacked by 2 pit bulls. They're on top of her. They're trying to tear her apart. They're basically, Dustin, at this point, they're trying to kill her. You made the mistake. You made that one error where you did not have your gun with you that day. What happened? How'd you end up saving your daughter?
Well, by the grace of God, we were across the road, and I had to sprint about 3 houses down and wrap my arm under the collars and literally ripped them off of her. And, you hear about women lifting a car off their child when they wreck, and I think it was something like that, just the sheer adrenaline. Mm-hmm. And I've lived every day since spring wondering why I didn't carry that day. But, even with the training I've had, and I sit there and wonder, like you said, it's not like in the movies where you just go pop, pop. One would be difficult enough, but 2, I would imagine even most skilled marksmen with 2 dogs, yourself, my wife's uncle, and my 3-year-old, how you would even do that. And it's just something to where you can't think about it. If you're going to do it, you just have to do it. But it didn't work out.
And it's this flurry of bodies and dogs and people and everything else. And the danger, of course, is that you could try to shoot a dog and hit somebody else. That's why I was talking about it's got to be a contact shot, whether you screw the muzzle in a dog's ear and pull the trigger or whatever you have. But understanding that it still has to be pointed in a direction that when it passes through, it doesn't hit anybody. And you know what? And you're right. It could be that that's simply not an option in some situations.
Right. And so many people will instantly rely on the gun just because they don't have one or because they have one on them. That's not always the answer. Proper training is the answer. Familiarity with what you carry and carrying it as much as you can where you legally can. But just because you have one on your side, we see it every day where police and military have to use judgment to where, should I take this shot or do I have another option? And it's not always as simple as people think. I mean, I had literally seconds to make a decision while the male was attached to her scalp.
Hey Dustin, how's your daughter now?
Man, she's great. She's actually sitting on the back of my truck. We're out here about to mow the yard. They had to shave her little head, but it's grown back. She started pre-K. She's doing good. After it was all said and done, about $100,000 later between med flight and trauma bills. Fortunately, we've got some good insurance and blessed with a good family. God took care of her, man. She's doing awesome, physically and mentally.
That's great to hear. Hey, I appreciate you sharing the story. It's going to mean a lot to a lot of people. A lot of people learn a lot from that. Thank you, Dustin. I appreciate that. Line 1, Rob. Hey, Rob, I got 1 minute for you. Please tell your story. Go fast.
Okay, I have to go into an area where I have to carry, and I may be attacked. I'm a serviceman in the mountains of Gatlinburg. In 30-plus years, I've had to unholster my gun twice, once with a coyote about 2 feet from me, and once when a bear stood up to attack me. It took every shot in the 45 to bring the bear down, and I practice once a month at the range. When that stuff happens, it isn't like it looks in the movies. You do good to bring the item down with 5 or 6 shots.
Well, yeah, they say the first shot is expensive. All the rest of them after that are free. So,
well, I was taught by an old man, and I've never unholstered my gun but twice, and both times I emptied it. If I take it out, I'm not taking it out until I fully intend to use it. When I put it back in, it'll be empty.
If that's what's necessary. I mean, obviously, if it turns around and takes off running and it's over, that's one thing, but... Yeah, wow. That's the interesting part. And look, I appreciate the call. 30 years, and I only had to use it twice, but the thing is, if you have to use it at all, you got to use it. And it's really, really good to have it. Incredible stories from Dustin and from Rob. Just envisioning your little girl being attacked, and you're thinking, what am I going to do? Well, I don't know, but I want every tool in my toolbox, and that toolbox is definitely going to include a gun and the training on what to do. Hey, when we come back, we'll talk about another level of training you can do.